Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Just blur my background so you're not seeing all my mess back there. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Daniel Silve. I'm the scholarships manager at the American Indian College Fund. We're really excited to kick off our 2026-2027 scholarship application. So we're going to talk a little bit about the College Fund, who we are. We'll talk about the eligibility for our scholarship. For We'll talk about the application process. We'll give you some tips on creating a strong application, and then we'll have some time at the end for questions. For now, as people are coming in, I wanted to just leave a little bit of time. Looks like people are still coming in. If you can find the chat function, just say hi to us. Let us know where you're joining us from. If you can, um, send us a greeting in your language. Love to see all the different languages represented amongst our folks out there. So good to see you. Thanks. Awesome. Appreciate it. Hey, from Wichita and Bismarck and Salish Kootenai College from Haskell, Wisconsin and Oklahoma, Tulsa. Great. Awesome. Great. Thanks for all for coming this evening and for spending some of your Sunday evening with us. Um, Looks like we got a good group assembling in here, so we'll get started in just a moment. Yacht A in North Dakota. Oh, you're away from home. Saying Yacht A in North Dakota. It's great to see you, Sharisa. Meiha, sorry if I'm mispronouncing. Southern California, Bixby, Oklahoma. I'm based here in Aurora, Colorado, just outside of Denver. Hello from Fort Worth. All right, so looks like we got a good group in here, so we'll go ahead and get started. Um, like I said, our 26-27 scholarship application is open today, so you can go in and apply. We're starting to get applications rolling in today. So yeah, don't hesitate, don't wait. We always encourage folks to apply early, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore. Um, but let's go ahead and get started. A little bit about the College Fund. Are you seeing my screen? Can someone just confirm, am I sharing my screen there with our presentation before we get too far? Yes. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. So, yeah, the College Fund, founded in 1989, we've awarded over 150,000 scholarships since that time. This year, we're on track to award over $20 million to more than 5,000 students this year, and it was about it was a little over $20 million last year. We're continuing to grow, so our team is working hard to expand those opportunities to fund to help fund Native students' education. So that's a little bit about who we are. In addition to the financial support and scholarships, our team also provides other supports, including coaching. Every Full Circle Scholar is matched up with a coach, one of our coaching team, and they help provide any guidance, any holistic support for students. And then as you kind of look at transitioning to a career, we also offer career development supports. So those are all, handled by different members of our team. Kind of, in addition to just that financial support that can help you afford going to college, there's also a lot of other challenges that our team wants to support you with. So that's a little bit about what we do. Let's talk about specifically the eligibility criteria for our scholarship. Oh, before I get too far, let me just also say, feel free if questions come up, drop them in the chat. Um, our scholarships coordinator, Mandy, not afraid, is in the chat. She can answer any questions. And then we'll also have plenty of time at the end for any additional questions. But as we're going through this, feel free to ask any questions in the chat, and we'll take a look at those. Yep, there's Mandy in the chat there, so feel free to drop any questions there. The presentation might answer a lot of your questions, but we'll have plenty of time at the end for any remaining questions. Here's our general eligibility criteria for our scholarship. You should be an enrolled member of a federal or state recognized tribe or a descendant, meaning you have a parent or a grandparent who's an enrolled member of a state or federally recognized tribe. You have at least a 2.0 cumulative GPA, whether that's a high school GPA or a previous college cumulative GPA. You will be enrolled full-time at a accredited not-for-profit school. So those are the general eligibility criteria. And as I mentioned, our application is now open for 26-27. The deadline to apply, the priority deadline is May 31st. It stays open after that, but we encourage everyone to apply by May 31st to be considered for all of our scholarship opportunities. And you really only need to submit one application each academic year. That is that is going to apply you for over 300 different named scholarships in our portfolios that you just submit the one application and we match up everything in your application to the criteria of all these different scholarships. So I mentioned, our basic eligibility criteria is this, and there's a lot of our scholarships that just look for this. But on top of that, our donors can build what their program looks like, adding additional criteria, like maybe they want to award students in a specific major or from a particular region or from a specific tribe, or only award, specific degree types. A lot of those, so there's many different scholarships that have different makeups, and if you just apply that one time, we will match you up with any of those opportunities that you are eligible for. So you don't really need to go through and look at each opportunity and say, "Am I eligible for this one?" Just apply once. Our system automatically matches you up. And I wanted to stop here to mention the importance of that May 31st deadline, because anyone who applies by May 31st, your application is scored by three different reviewers who are folks that are working in education, native education, outside of our organization in other roles. We bring them on to do this work every year. They score thousands of applications, and we award based on those scores. If you apply after May 31st, your application won't be scored, meaning you kind of end up at the bottom of the list in terms of when we're awarding each of those 300 or 150 are awarded in our office. The remaining opportunities are awarded at tribal colleges and universities. We can get into that a little bit later. But so you apply, you're matched to these scholarship opportunities. And then for each of those opportunities, we choose the highest scores. Okay, so if you apply after May 31st, you're not going to be ranked amongst the top scorers in each of those. So apply by May 31st, if at all possible. It'll really help in your being eligible for some of these scholarships. So, all right, with that said, let's talk about the application process. So before you apply, you're just going to need to get a few documents. You'll want a digital photo of yourself, a decent looking photo of yourself. You don't need to hire a photographer or anything, but a good quality photo. Dress up nice and have a friend take a photo with a cell phone. That's fine, and that'll satisfy that requirement. Then we need a proof of your tribal enrollment or descendancy. So either a tribal ID or a CIB or those in addition to a birth certificate showing your relationship to the enrolled member if it's not you, if it's your parent or grandparent. And then lastly, you'll just need your most recent transcript. So yeah, so with that all said, I'll stop for a moment and just look at the questions here, and just see if there's anything that I haven't answered or that might be answered in a next slide coming up. The Chalon tribe, a federally recognized tribe. I'll have to look up that specific tribe. I don't know them all off the top of my head, but we do have them all in the data table. If you go into the application, which we'll look at here in just a minute, um, all the federally recognized tribes are in that data table. Not all the state recognized tribes are, but there is, if your tribe is not in the drop down, you can type it in, and then we'll look it up and verify whether it is state or federally recognized. Um, how does the scholarship work for a trade school for a 12-month program? Um, it depends. It depends on a few things. One, if it's a not for profit trade schools, I know some are for profit, so that's one thing you got to look at. The other thing is if it is a like a certificate program, that's fine. We do fund certificate programs. You just need to be enrolled full time. If you have additional questions, specific questions about that, I can answer. But that's generally what comes to mind. If I'm receiving a college fund scholarship for a BA and will be moving on to earn an MA, do I need to reapply? Yes, you need to reapply every academic year, but just once every academic year. And you can, we do award certificates, we award associates, bachelor's, master's, doctorate programs. We can't necessarily guarantee that we can renew from year to year, but we do our best to renew scholars from year to year. Um, Not offered for part-time. For our full circle scholarships, no. You need to be enrolled full-time unless you're graduating that year. If you're graduating within the year and you don't need it all, to be enrolled full-time to graduate, we're not going to say you have to be enrolled full-time. It's okay to be part-time if you're graduating within that year. Um, or if you're at a tribal college or university, we do have some programs that are awarded at tribal colleges and universities that can award part-time students. Miranda, not a photo ID, but a picture of yourself. Yeah, exactly. So for that photo, we're just asking for like a headshot of yourself, and then the only ID we would need is like a tribal ID for the tribal enrollment verification. My most recent transcript is 10 years old, still need it. Yeah, if that's your most recent transcript, that's what we will want to see. So yeah, I know it might not seem super relevant, but that's the best we can go with. I'll drop back in here and look at some more questions in just a moment. But I wanted to look at a few things here before I jump over to the scholarship application, which you can find here at collegefund.org/apply. It'll look like this, what you're seeing here on the screen. I encourage you to first go and look at our website to our scholarships page. So let me pull that up and we can look at that. So if you go to collegefund.org, you'll see a bunch of information about a whole bunch of other programs besides our scholarship programs. There's a lot going on. We do a lot more than scholarships. But since we're focusing on scholarships here tonight, when you do want to look at, learn more about our scholarships programs, you'll come to the navigation across the top here to go to for students, and then the first option here is scholarships, and that'll take you to our page here where you'll be presented with three different sort of journeys here, depending on where you are in your educational journey here. You can select either I'm a high school student, I am a student at a tribal college or university, or a student at a non-tribal college or university, and then select the right option for you and click Learn More. These will all look somewhat similar. Some of the information is tailored directly toward where you are in your journey, but it'll give you, a little bit of information about the opportunities available, the basic eligibility that we just talked about, the documentation you'll need, a walkthrough video that we encourage everyone to take a look at that video just to kind of familiarize yourself with the process before you get started. And then there is an Apply Now button that'll take you to the application. And then at the bottom here, we have links to our application tips page, which looks like this, and it gives you a bunch of tips for your application. And then there's also a frequently asked questions page that you might also want to take a look at if you have any other questions. But once you're ready to apply, you can go ahead and go to collegefund.org/apply, or you can click on the Apply Now button here on our website, and this is what our portal will look like. So if you are brand new, you've never applied with us before, of course, you'll first need to sign up for an account by clicking Sign Up. Enter your email, password, click Sign Up, and then you'll go back and log in here. For folks that are returning, if you've forgotten your password, it's been a year since you've logged in, just click on the forgot your password, enter your email. It'll send you an email to the email address that you created the account with. If you no longer have access to that account, send an email to us at scholarships@collegefund.org and let us know. We will look up, or we can change the email that you're using, or if you just forgot which email you're using, we can let you know, and we can get you logged back in. Please don't. We really encourage you to not create another account if you've forgotten your password or don't remember your login. Please, if you can refrain from creating a second account. That helps us out a lot in a couple ways. One, if you have more than one account, they're not connected. So if you've got a scholarship in the previous year, you won't be prioritized for renewal for the next year because we won't have those two things linked, the two scholarship accounts linked. Um, Secondly, if you do create another account, we need to go in and delete those accounts and figure out which records we want to keep, and it might not be the one that you would prefer to keep. So we just recommend that you don't create a second account. All right. So once we have our account set up here, we'll log right in. Actually, no, I wanted to log into this other account because I wanted to show you what it'll look like if you're a brand new student, you've never logged in before. Um, Let me lose the other account. Um, It'll look different depending on whether you've created an account with us before or not. So I'm going to show you both so you have the idea of what both look like. So if you've not created an account with us before, you'll just see when you log in, you'll just see a link to create a new profile to get started. This one already has a profile that's been started but hasn't been finished. If you're brand new, it'll just say this. It'll say plus create a profile to get started right here. You click on that and get started. We'll open our profile. Will enter our information. Obviously, the role that if you're going to apply for a scholarship, the role you're occupying at this moment is a student. So you'll choose student, enter your name, date of birth, your email address. This is that headshot I was talking about, something like that. Your address, some information about your gender and pronouns, and marital status, dependents, tribal affiliation. Oh, I did want to take a moment here and just look at a field here. So if you say, you're American Indian or Alaska Native, you're an enrolled member or descendant, then you have to search your tribe. And so say I'm searching my tribe here. Um, Sometimes it takes like 5 to 10 seconds. It'll be searching. See how it's just searching there for a little while. Some people will say, "Oh, I must be like a different name," and start to and then enter some and kind of get frustrated that it's not pulling right up. For whatever reason, it's the searching to look has to go back to our tribe's data table, pull that back, and bring it back. What was that tribe we were asking about? Chalon. Let's just take a look, Yasmin, and see. It says no results found. So it's not a federally recognized tribe. There's a possibility that it could be a state recognized tribe. I don't know. We don't have all the state recognized tribes in here yet, because we don't have a centralized database to pull all those things in from. But if you were to say, so if you do search this and your tribe is just not pulling up, you can say other. And what is it's not, oh, self-describe. Okay, so it's self-describe. It's not other. It's self-describe. And then you'll put in the name of your tribe here. And then we'll look it up on the back end and add it to our data table if it is a state recognized tribe that we don't have in there already. But give it that time to look up your tribe if if it's not pulling up right away. Just give it a little bit. All right, and then here's where you're going to upload your tribal enrollment document. And then if you are applying as a descendant of a qualified enrollment member, it gives you a field for your birth certificate as well. So you'll upload the tribal enrollment document of the enrolled member, your parent or grandparent, and then a birth certificate showing your relationship to that person. If it's your grandparent, you would need your birth certificate, your parent's birth certificate that shows your relationship to the parent, and then the parents to the grandparent. You select your race or ethnicity, and then you create your profile. Oh, I don't want. Let me do just say enrolled member. Create profile. And then when you go back to this the home page here, you'll see a new section has opened up here, and it gives you a little information about the 26-27 application. Most of the time, we say it takes about an hour to complete. We've made it as simple as possible, but pretty much every question on the application relates to a specific scholarship opportunity. And so we do our best to make it easy to apply from year to year. When we take a look at that in just a moment, we'll show you some ways that we do that. But here again is the links to the application tips and FAQs that we showed you a little bit earlier. So if this is your first time applying, you'll see a button that looks like this, Get Started, and you'll click Get Started, and then it'll bring you over to your application. And so you'll see for each of these options or for each of these sections, you'll see that the first three say action required for the scholarship application, for the extracurricular activities, and the honors and distinctions. But the resume says optional. So the first three are required, the last is optional. And you just go through, fill out each of these sections. Excuse me. And then submit. But I want to switch over to this other account to show you what it looks like if you've applied with us before, how that homepage will look different. Because what you're going to see is the application cards for any previous year that you've applied with us. So say if you've been applying with us back since 22, 23, you'll see all your application cards back to then. You might even have be active in your current scholarship with us for 25, 26. You'll now have an apply now card for 26, 27 in your portal. And so just like you would do for the other one, you'd click on the apply now, and that's going to drop you into the scholarship application. So I've already gone in and completed all these sections. Once all the first three of these are completed, and a resume, if you'd like to share that, you can click this green submit button, and that will submit your application to us. But let's first take a look at these sections and just point out anything that's worthwhile. So in the profile, we took your permanent address. In the application, we're looking for your email, your mailing address. That might be different than your permanent home address. Maybe this is your school address, or an address that's not your permanent address. You can give us that there. We ask if you're currently a high school senior. We do have some scholarship opportunities that are specifically for students moving from high school into college. Enter your college of attendance. Again, this search function takes a little while, so just give it a minute and see. It's gonna search and search and see. Now we're looking for University of North Alabama. Let's say our major. It takes a little while. Yeah. So, 5 to 10 seconds, maybe longer, but give it a little bit. For your degree, choose the one that's closest to your degree type. If you have a specific degree type that's not in here, uh, just choose the one that's closest to it. If it's not a Bachelor of Arts or something, but something closely related. Choose that. If you choose there is an other option here, but if you choose that, you're not going to get matched up to the maximum number of scholarships. I was telling you about how we have this number of scholarships that have criteria, and it basically gets matched up to what your application says. If you're choosing other for either of these fields, for the degree or for your major, you're not going to get matched up to many scholarships. So make sure you choose whatever's the closest. Same with major. If it's a specific major that's not in this table, choose something that's most closely related. Or if you have more than one major, just choose your primary major if you can select one of them. That's going to be better for you than choosing other in both of those cases. Your enrollment status, whether full or part-time, what your cumulative GPA is on your most recent transcript, the class level, based on how many credits you've completed, whether you're first through fourth year undergraduate or a graduate student. when you expect to graduate. Have you previously attended a tribal college? If you say yes, then you can say, are you graduate? And if then you can enter your tribal college you graduated from. Are you a first generation college student? This field, you won't need to input anything. This just tells us on the back end whether you were awarded last year or not. And so you don't need to input anything there. This next question is somewhat of a sensitive question, and so we give you the option to not answer it. It's asking if you're a descendant of a boarding school survivor. This is for one specific scholarship we have that is awards folks with that are either boarding school survivors themselves or descendants of. If you want to answer this question, you'll be eligible for that scholarship. If you prefer not to answer, that's fine. It'll only affect your eligibility for that one scholarship opportunity. So you don't, if it's sensitive, and you don't want to, dig it up or, ask your relative who was at a boarding school about it and bring up memories that might be traumatic. You are 100% supported to not answer. But if you say yes, you can. There's some questions here about your experience or your relative, your parent, grandparent, whoever it might be, what their experience was there. Um, but perfectly acceptable to say prefer not to answer. There is a notice here about applicants using artificial intelligence. We recommend you refrain from using ChatGPT or other AI generators. Um, our reviewers have let us know that they're really looking for authenticity, pretty much above everything else, is they want to hear your story. ChatGPT, other large language models, they tend to kind of find an average of of these questions, and they can't get to your specific experience in a way that will shine through as authentically as your own voice. So that's just a recommendation. I think AI in some cases could be more of a detriment than it is a benefit to you. But here there's three reflection questions that this applies to, that we're looking for answers to, that are going to make up the largest part of your score on this application. So this is really where you want to spend your time. You'll see here there's kind of a limitation on the word count. The minimum is 100, the maximum is 300. So you really want to get your answer as succinct and clear and as possible, while still answering it as fully as possible and giving the reviewers as much um, insight into your experience as possible. So those three questions are here. What challenges have you overcome to attend college? What are your educational and career goals? And how will you use your education to impact your native community, nation, or Indian country? There's a couple questions about whether you were ever in the Boys and Girls Club, the Armed Forces. Again, those are specific scholarships aimed toward folks who were involved in those organizations. And then a heartfelt letter, a thank you letter to the donor. So basically, if you are awarded a scholarship, this is something that we would send along to the donor to basically as just a way to say thank you for their donation that supported our students. So you upload your most recent transcript here. This last section here, the asking about the FAFSA. If you've completed the FAFSA, you can say yes or no. This is one part that is not related to scholarship eligibility. It's information that we want to collect so that we know who our students are that we're serving, and get a better sense of that. So those are a couple questions about the FAFSA. If you haven't filled it out yet, that's okay. It won't affect your eligibility at all. But if you have and you have your student aid index, you can put that in here. That'll help us out. And then there's a few disclosures here, and then a question about how you heard about the opportunities. Okay, so once you've done all that, you save it. 6:30. All right, we'll finish this up and then we'll have some time for questions here. So once you've done these three, oh well, let's look at the extracurricular activities, honors, and distinctions. They're pretty similar in their the format here. Basically, you can if you've applied with us before, all of your honors and distinctions and extracurriculars that you've entered before have been ported over to this application. Or I forgot to mention on the scholarship application, we also bring over your essays from the year before. And there's a note if you were awarded last year, there'll be a note that says you don't need to edit um, your essays. You've already been prioritized for renewal. If you were not awarded last year, we recommend you just review your essay questions, see if there's room for improvement, because like I said, that's the biggest part of your overall score for your application is those three short answer reflection questions. Okay, so now to the extracurriculars. Those have been brought over from your previous applications. So say, last year I entered a volunteer and service related activity. It's going to show up again for me here this year. You can come in here if you want to edit it all, add any, detail, or say, well, now I've been involved for 6 to 12 months rather than 0 to 6 months. You can edit that, make those changes. And then go back and edit the rest. If you've not entered anything, you need to add at least one item, and you do that by coming in here, choosing the activity type. So say I'm involved in athletics, I play basketball, whatever. Basketball at South High School, whatever it is. And then I did that for more than a year, and then you mention what it is here and mark it as complete. Um, if you do not have anything to report, which you should be able to come up with at least something that you're involved with outside of your academics. You're involved in things. Don't hesitate to be pretty broad with what you include here. But if you really have nothing, you did not do a single thing outside of school, you can say no activity to report. Um, and that will fulfill that requirement. But we recommend, you try to come up with several things that you were involved with, extracurricular activities, and then the same with honors and distinctions. That can be, a job, that can be for extracurriculars. You can be childcare, elder care, helping your people in your community or your family or whatever it might be. Those things can all be listed under extracurricular activities. Honors and distinctions, those can be, things within your community. They can be, nationwide recognition or whatever it might be. It can be part, in your cultural recognitions, academic, faith-based, community-based organizations, all those. Any of those things can be added in the same way. You can edit anything you've added here before or add a new item. Um, if you can do a handful of each of these, I think that reflects well on your involvement in your community. That's one thing our reviewers are looking for is if you're involved, in your community, which shows that, you're going to take your education and really it's going to benefit you and those around you. So once you've done all those things, if you want to upload a resume, that is mostly used by our team that is working on career development. You can click here if you're interested in any internship opportunities. You can upload your resume, or you can put in your LinkedIn if you have a LinkedIn profile that you'd rather use instead of uploading like a resume file. You can do that as well. Okay, but once those things are all done, you can click submit. This will show you that your applications have been submitted. You'll receive an email that will let you know that you will receive a notification at the end of July. So July 31st, usually. It's usually not before then. Usually it takes us that time through July to make all our awarding decisions, get all our award announcements out. And that whether you are awarded or not, you will receive a notification and the email that you entered in your profile. So anytime if you update your phone number or your email, we encourage you to come in here and edit it here as your primary email address or your cell phone number. Anytime we're sending out notifications, it goes to either this email address, and if you have a phone number, we can also sometimes text you to let you know, hey, you have to complete this by this deadline. So if you want to give us your cell phone number, it's not required, but that helps us to reach out if we need, a document from you to process your scholarship. All right, so that's basically the whole process. Once you're done with, you've submitted your scholarship application, it'll show you that it's under review. And then once an award decision has been made, you'll see either not awarded or it'll invite you to onto the next part of the process. But that's the application process in a quick nutshell. Um, let me go back to the slideshow. I mentioned the reflection questions. I just wanted to again point out that this is where you want to spend your time, these three questions. Try to give as complete an answer as you can within those 300 word limit. What challenges have you overcome to attend college? So maybe, what was the challenge? What did you do to overcome it? And then what was the result? Something kind of like beginning, middle, and end, kind of think it through that way. And really think through kind of what you've learned, in that process. And then what are your educational and career goals? And I always say, like, not only what are they, but why are they? Why do you have those goals? Why are you interested in the career goals that you've set out for yourself with the educational goals, kind of give them insight into, what that your motivation is there. And then how will you use your education to impact your native community, nation, or Indian country? Like I mentioned, we really are wanting to support those students who show that they are going to impact not only themselves but their family, their community in important ways. And so, what are your plans toward that? Okay. Some key tips for a strong application. I mentioned a couple of these already. Apply as soon as possible. Don't wait till the last minute so you're rushing. Apply sooner so you give yourself plenty of time um, to to craft your essays. And then the third tip here, which is have somebody else review your application. You want to give them time to do that and give you feedback and rewrite. Having somebody else review your application especially your essay questions, is really helpful because they might be able to see it and say, hey, I know that there's something else you can add here, or this part isn't clear, something like that. Could help to have an outside reader on that. That could be a friend, a mentor, somebody that you trust to give you some good feedback. I mentioned avoid using AI and the reasons for that. I don't think it's particularly helpful and could be potentially detrimental. Review our tips and FAQ pages that I showed you, the links for those, if you're curious about any questions or can't remember what we went over tonight, those are there. And then lastly, reach out to our team. Right now, it's me and Mandy who's in the chat, and then Alberta is also our member team who is usually the one answering our phone there, 800-987-3863, or email us, scholarships@collegefund.org. We are a team of three right now. We're looking to hire a fourth person. If you know anyone that's might be a good fit for a scholarship director position, send them our way. Look at our website. We have that position up on our website right now. And you can be part of our team. That'd be great. But right now we're just three of us. So if you call and you can't get anyone, and you call again, you still can't get anyone, know that this past year we had 15,000 applicants. So we're probably busy at the moment. If you email us at scholarships@collegefund.org, sometimes that's maybe a better way to get a hold of us, because then we can all three of us have access to that email address, and we can get back to you once we have a moment. So just want to give you a heads up on that. And I think. Oh, we have one more thing before we get to questions. That is, we look, just some resources. So go to collegefund.org/students. Follow us on social media at Native Pathways, on YouTube at collegefund.org. This, along with other recordings, will be up there on the YouTube channel. And then you'll also find other resources like our Connect platform, which is for networking, internships, career focus, and then Focus 2, which is another career tool that you can take assessments to, if you're trying to figure out what might be a good career direction to pursue. Native Pathways is for those high schoolers who might be looking, or other folks who are looking to enter college for the first time. There's a lot of good information in there. And then Career Pathways is a guidebook for folks entering their career. All right, so now that's all our presentation. We've got about 20 minutes here for questions. So let me jump back over here and see what questions we have. Yeah, if your tribe is not there on our website, you can just email us at scholarships@collegefund.org and let us know that you searched it there and didn't find it. We'll get it added. We'll get it added to our database. The official website to apply at. Let me show you because the um, collegefund.org/apply redirects here. So it's webportalapp.com/sp/home/AICF_scholarships. Easier to remember, collegefund.org/apply. So that's why we created that short link that, if you go to collegefund.org/apply, it's going to redirect you to that URL there. Um, Yeah, good question. Keanu asks, if we have a scholarship that gets accepted, how do we know what scholarship we got or what criteria is for keeping the scholarship? So when you get awarded, when you log back into the portal, you'll find an award letter, and that will tell you what program your you've been awarded and what the GPA requirement is. Otherwise, we don't list all the criteria for the scholarship. Because the main one is you still meeting, if you've met it before, the main things that will change it is like, oh, if you change your major, if you change your school. So let us know as soon as you can about those changes, and we can look into your specific scholarship and see if that'll affect you, and your eligibility for that particular scholarship. If you're awarded, fall, spring, so all of our scholarships are awarded for the full year, for fall and for spring, and say between fall and spring, you change your major, you let us know. That affects your eligibility. We then look for a different opportunity for you for spring. We can't always guarantee it, but we do our best to find you a different opportunity for the next term if you're no longer eligible for that initial scholarship you were offered. For the American Indian College Fund scholarships, how many credit hours are considered full-time? As a working student, I'm trying to plan my course load. Also, do community college qualify for this funding, or is it limited to four-year institutions? Great question. I plan to transfer to UNC Pembroke, a four-year Native American serving university. Great. Okay, so first question about full-time enrollment. Generally, what we look for is 12 credits for an undergraduate program, 9 credits for a master's, and 6 for a doctoral program. But not all schools adhere to that. And so we go by what your school considers full-time. So when we ask for your documents, we'll also ask for, if you're at a school that doesn't adhere to that 12, 9, 6, depending on your degree type, just send us some other documentation that shows that your program says, oh no, my most master program only requires 6 credits. We know there's a couple TCUs that we work with that their master's programs are 6 credit is full time, or each class at our school is considered as 1 unit, and so 4 units is full time for an undergraduate program. Whatever it might be, a letter from an advisor or something from the website that shows, hey, this is what we consider full time. That's what we were looking for. So it depends on the school and what they consider full time. That's how we assess that. We absolutely do fund community colleges. Any school that is not a for-profit school, and the way, if you're not sure whether your school is for profit or not, you can go to, we use College Navigator. It is from the National Center for Education Statistics. Search the name of your school here. It'll give you a bunch of information about the school, whether it's public or private. whether it's for profit or nonprofit, with the accreditation. This is where we go to find that information. So if you're not sure, that's where you can look. But all, yeah, community colleges, any public universities, or public colleges, that those will qualify. GPA requirements, yes, Teresa's right. It is a minimum of 2.0, but different scholarships, could be higher. Some are 2.5, some are 3.0, but you'll be matched to, what the GPA that you put in your application. We'll match it to a program. But then before we can disperse those funds, we do ask for your most recent transcripts just to make sure that you meet the GPA requirement. Then we send the fund out to your school. Um, does our tribal ID need a photo? Not necessarily. If your tribal documents don't include a photo, that's fine. I know the documents that we get from Navajo Nation don't have the photo on there. Not a problem. No, as long as it has your name, it'll usually have your tribal enrollment number, whatever it is. Then yeah, it doesn't need to have a picture. You can submit your tribal ID, the one that, the tribal ID that has a picture. That works too. But you could even also submit just, excuse me, uh, a letter from your tribe stating that you're enrolled in the tribe. That also works as long as it's from your enrollment office or from your tribe otherwise. Do you need an official transcript, or we accept unofficial? We accept unofficial. No problem. You don't need to order an official transcript. Totally not necessary. Oh, Mandy's already answered a bunch of these questions, so I'm just going over in case folks missed any of these things. Um, yeah. So Larry asks about some tips for the essays. Um, the number one. Oh, I should mention there is a if you want some real good tips, let me go to collegefund.org/events because we have another. Oops, put the slash in there. Um, We have another webinar coming up on the 18th of March. That is where you get to hear from reviewers. So the people that are actually scoring your application, they're going to give you those tips, and from scholars. So at least one scholar who has gone through this process successfully. So that's really if you really want to know, that's the place to come. But every time we've done this in the past, they've always said they really look for authenticity in the answers. And so if you can tell your story in a way that is, compelling and really tells something meaningful about what you've learned through your journey in these different ways or what you want to accomplish. It's good to have, for that question about your goals, it's good to have specific goals, even if, you don't know whether or not you're going to keep those, those goals are going to be, what you end up doing in the future. We never know where we're going to end up. But if you have some specific goals, I think that helps kind of hone in for the reviewer what your values are and what you're looking to do, what you're looking to accomplish. Even if you say, these are my goals right now, and that's change over time. But to come up with some specific goals, I think is a good thing to do as well. But if you are able to join us on March 18th, that's really always a good panel for getting some additional insight into that, what makes a good score for on your application. Um, Do the scholarships go straight to the college? How long does it take to be delivered to the school? Yes, they do go straight to the financial aid office at your institution. Um, and then they credit to your student account. How long does it take to be delivered? So once we have your transcript and your schedule for the term, it can take a couple weeks. Our finance office processes payments every other week. So it could be, 2 weeks before we disperse, and then maybe another week or up to 10 days for us and your school to credit to your account. So those are some things to think about, as you're waiting, like, where is my money? Sometimes it just takes time to process on our end and then process on the other end. So, but if you ever have questions, your scholarship hasn't arrived yet, you can always reach out and we can let you know, oh yeah, we dispersed that. We sent that out a month ago and your school hasn't, and we can reach out to your school and see if they got it or somehow every once in a while, a check will go missing somewhere and we'll have to reissue it. But yeah, feel free to check in on that if your scholarship is delayed. Okay. I'm in my final semester and plan to graduate this May. Could I still apply for the current spring semester? Unfortunately, no. Our 20, so for spring 26, our application is already closed. That closed on the 25th of January. So we can't, so if you're graduating this May, you would only want to apply if you're going to be enrolled in maybe another program, come fall. So this application is only for fall 26, spring 27. Okay, let's scroll down. We got about 9 minutes here, so I'm going to answer as many of these questions as I can. Are applicants made aware of how they scored at any point? No, we won't. We don't divulge like what your score actually was. But um, yeah, that's not really something that is shared with a student. But uh, yeah, that's about what I can tell you on that. What if you haven't decided on which college to go to yet? Catherine, put whatever school is kind of top of your list, and then let us know if that changes. But do put a school there, and then just let us know if it's no longer. Um, yeah, if your school isn't there, just put other and then write in the name of your school. And I think it'll also ask you what state it's in. Going to an aviation program at Rocky Mountain, what would be the closest major type of bachelor degree? Let's see. Let's say we're gonna look at let me do that. Let's see if we can find out real quick. Um, yeah, if there's something that, you really can't find something, anything close, um, then you might have to put other, but if we can find anything related to aviation or um, anything like that, let's see. So yeah, search and select your major. Yeah, so we do have an aviation major. If you're not sure if your major isn't coming up, just maybe even Google that major and see what other kind of maybe go up one level to like what the degree, what the overarching field is, and just search for that, something in that field. But that's basically how I would do it, is search if your major, see if it doesn't come up, then go and Google it and kind of like look for something that's kind of more general, but still, encapsulates that specific major. Um, if we received a scholarship last year, the answers from our questions appear in the application this year. Should we change those? If you were awarded last year, you don't need to update your essay questions. If there was any other questions that were pulled in, answers for any other questions, if you want to update those, you can. But you don't have to, because like I said, if you were awarded last year, your application kind of bypasses the whole scoring step and just goes directly to being prioritized for renewal. So you don't necessarily need to update those questions. Um, oh yeah, I see. Yeah, somebody mentioned the workshop on March 18th. That'll have more specific information about what reviewers and scholars found useful in the process. So it'll be a bit different. We're not going to walk through the whole application again like we did today. It's really going to be focused on hearing from those reviewers and scholars. 5 minutes here. Let's see. What if I'm applying to multiple schools? I think we answered that. Just choose the top one, and then if you end up going to a different school, email us to change it. Um, Oh, this is a good question. Would you be able to tell the percentage of students you're able to give scholarships to? Yeah, so that's a good question because there's a lot greater need than the scholarships we have available, right? So it is very competitive. If you're not awarded, please don't take that as a reflection of whether or not you are qualified for the scholarship. We have a lot of very qualified applicants that we're not able to award every year. And we are, our resource development team is always working to bring in more money so we can award more students. But to cut to the chase, last year we got about 15,000 applications and we awarded about 5,000 students. So yeah, that's kind of, to give you some sense of the likelihood that someone would be awarded. Um, but yeah, that's kind of the percentages of applications to awards. Yeah, as a high school senior, I don't have my final transcript till mid-May. Would I just submit my current transcript and cumulative GPA? Yes. Yep. So the most recent that you have available is all we're looking for. It doesn't need to include, your final grades, since you won't have those till mid-May. You can apply now, today, with what you have available. So that would have, through your fall grades. And that would be fine. Yeah. And we were not, you don't have to wait. And I would not suggest waiting until mid-May to apply. Um, oh, yep. And there's Mandy saying exactly what I just said. Okay. So hopefully we got through most of these questions. If you do have additional questions, you can email us at scholarships@collegefund.org. Who reviews the applications? Is it a team? Yeah, it's so last year we had about 30 people on the team, and they are people that are involved in education in a variety of ways. They're in all different professions. A lot of them are folks that work at colleges. A lot of them have experience working with Native students, or a lot of them are Native themselves. And so it's just a group of folks that come on and do that work for us each year in the spring. So we're doing, we're bringing them on in a couple weeks here, and they'll score through June, to make sure every application gets scored 3 times by our group. And we average those, and that's what we use to prioritize for awards. The webinar is going to be up on our YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and search American Indian College Fund, it'll come up, and it should be there maybe a week or two. I'm not sure, how our comms team, how slammed they are right now. They're pretty busy, but hopefully, within the next week or two, this will be up there. You can review it then. And like I mentioned, we do have other webinars coming up. One that talks specifically about opportunities for California tribal members. I think I saw somebody here that was from California tribe, or a few folks from California. You'll want to check this out. We do have some good opportunities specifically for folks in California or from California tribes. And then we have a question and answer session that's really just focused on answering all these questions, since we didn't get to all of them tonight. And then there is one for your last minute questions right at the end of right before the deadline. Hopefully you've all applied by then. You all are the ones that are here on our opening day, so you're already ahead of the pack. So we started getting the applications. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions about anything. But thank you so much for joining us, and I really appreciate it. Appreciate your interest in our opportunities. I know hopefully any question that I wasn't able to answer here, I think Mandy answered a bunch of them here in the chat. But let us know if you have other questions. Really appreciate your time tonight. You have a good evening. Thank you.